Okay, this is going to be a video recording for our agents out there or the staff at the agency who's looking to get settlement information for the shows. The idea with Open Road is that the band or the tour manager or whoever's wearing the tour manager hat on the road is going to be entering show settlement information for each show. Actually, I should say that it's band show settlement information so that it's not always going to be all the information on the show, but it will be what the band is due. So if you're a support band and you're just getting paid $250 or $2,000 for the support slot, all you will have is the amount that you earned and then how you received that payment, if anything was withheld for tax and so on. If it's a headline show, then you'll have more information on there, like how many people were in attendance or paid attendance and what the show gross was. So we'll start out and you would choose the band. If you have access to many different bands, they would be in this drop down up here. We're just going to choose this imaginary band, the Dem Home Run Hitters. And the agents, the quickest way that you can access this information is go to shows here on the left. And once you're in the shows, you'll see that there's past shows and upcoming shows. You'll want to choose the past shows for those that have happened already. And here we have 3 shows listed. And there might be 50 or 100 or several hundred in here, but of course you're only looking for the most recent range. So you're going to click in shows, you'll see the past shows. If the show is unsettled, then underneath this view button, you will see a link that says settle, and that'll give you an indication that the band hasn't, or the tour manager has not yet settled it. But once you click on view, it'll take you into the show, what's called the show detail page, and from here you can get into the settlement detail page by clicking this settlement button. That was the green settlement button in the upper left. Once you're in the settlement screens, you can click between settlements through these previous and next buttons. So if you're an agent or if you're on the settlement staff for an agency, this is probably your fastest way to flip between shows once you're in here. So here, let's just click on next and we end up on the 7:10 show that was at the Variety Playhouse in Atlanta. And I'll just explain this information that's in here as it relates to your agency system. So the show gross revenue, that's of course the gross. I believe most agencies call this gross as well, so I don't think there's going to be any difference there. This is the total number of tickets sold times the ticket price. That gives you the show gross. So in this case, 2,500 is what the show gross was. Paid attendance, again, that's just paid attendance. And ideally, the tour manager or the band is entering this for all of the headline shows or co-bill shows. If this is a type, you see up here it says type headline. In the system, it allows for the band to choose whether it's a festival play or private, etc. If it's a festival play, for example, then show gross and paid attendance, those aren't even fields that the tour manager can enter. They're just grayed out. This field, however, the estimated peak set attendance, is available for all show types. So if you see that they played a festival, let's say it was Bonnaroo or Outside Lands, something like that, and we don't really care what the festival gross was. That's not of interest to the band, but it would be interesting to know how many people were in attendance. So that's what this figure is for their set. If there is a settlement sheet, and ideally this is something that we eventually get 100% of the time, but it's not required currently. But if there is a venue settlement sheet, you will see here this button, I think it's a different color, and it will say download file. So if they've entered the settlement sheet, you can click that and it will open up as a PDF in a separate window. Performance income is what the band got paid. So the gross up here, and we could change, let's say the gross was 10,000, but the band received a guarantee of 2,500, let's say. So what they got paid, this is guarantee plus back end, is going to be in performance income. Buyout income, this is not the meals buyout. This would be production buyout or hotel buyout, something significant usually. more than $100, $200. That's what you'd see in here under buyout income. The difference with this, as you know, is that this is not commissionable income for management, business management, or agency. It's generally a show expense that's being reimbursed. So that's what that is. That'll give us the total income. And then the state tax withheld, I've noticed some agencies track this, some don't. But if, as you know, in California or Connecticut or North Carolina, there are certain states that withhold state income tax from the band's payments after they hit a certain threshold. So if some of that is withheld, then that number is going to be here. The deposit at the agency, of course, ideally this matches what you have in your agency records for what's on deposit. This is what the band is saying that they expect to be on settlement or on deposit at the agency. Other show deductions, this would mostly be used in the case of fan club sales. So if the band is selling their own tickets, obviously at settlement, the promoter is going to indicate that the band already has some of the money in the form of pre-sale tickets that they have control of. So this could be used for that. Otherwise, the only other ways I've seen this used are when, like in New York, when there's a fee for a hazer machine or a smoke machine. Sometimes that comes out of the band's actual pay. I've also seen parking fees in New York City that can come out of the band's payment. So those might be here. If there's other show deductions, the tour manager would type in here what that amount is related to. So after you get those deductions, they total up on this field. So total of show income minus the deductions is what you would expect at settlement, so due at settlement. And then what the band actually receives is in these next fields. So check received and the check number. Right now, this only is only enabled for one check, but we will expand this to allow for multiple. And then cash received next. So total receipts 500. There should be a zero variance. The tour manager, or whoever's wearing the tour manager hat, is able to save this with a variance. And then the business manager can go in and make alterations later. But sometimes I've seen there's a variance if a wire is going to be sent to the agency or to the band after the fact. Or sometimes a tour manager might just not know how to make all the numbers reconcile. So they are able to submit a settlement even with a variance. But that's, as an agent or on the settlement staff, that's something you should look out for and just make sure what the tour manager entered makes sense to you. If they say that a wire is coming, just something to be aware of. So that's it on the band side. Merch is something similar if you care to see those numbers. I know you don't need them for settlement, but they're going to be over here. It's a very similar type of structure where it says what were the earnings, what were the deductions, and what did you get at settlement. So I won't go into that here, but if you're interested, feel free to reach out to me and I can explain that further. The deal, this will be, the tour manager enters the deal as it comes from the agency website or the ITINs or the contracts. And then show notes, this would be the last thing I think that you'd be looking at from the agency side, which would be notes from the tour manager or the band about how the venue was, how the promoter was, how the food was, the general experience, any kind of feedback like that, maybe some notes about the weather and so on. So they might enter some notes here as well. And that would be it. Once they're all done and they enter the merch, they hit submit settlement. And once they hit submit, for them, it just takes them back to the show detail page. For you on the settlement staff, you would go back and if you want to go between all the settlements, you would click on settlement and then just flip between these and look for their information as they report it and any discrepancies. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and we can answer any questions that you have. Thank you.